Have you ever wondered what it takes to rise from obscurity to become the emperor of a continent? Today we're diving into the incredible story of Napoleon Bonaparte, a name that echoes through history as a symbol of ambition, genius, and power. This isn't just a tale of battles and conquests. It was the story of how a young man from a small island changed the face of Europe forever. Napoleon was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, just a year after it became a French territory. His family, the Bonapartes, were minor Italian nobility. But they weren't exactly rolling in wealth or influence in France. As a boy, Napoleon was sent to military school in mainland France. Imagine this: a young, fiery Corsican with a thick accent, surrounded by the sons of French aristocrats. He was an outsider, often teased and looked down upon. But this isolation fueled his ambition. He buried himself in books, studying history, mathematics, and, most importantly, the art of war. He devoured stories of great leaders like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, dreaming of his own destiny. His chance came with the French Revolution. Old order was crumbling, creating a vacuum of power and a desperate need for talented leaders. The chaos that terrified many was, for Napoleon, a ladder. He was just a junior artillery officer, but he had ideas. Big ideas. His first major break happened in 1793 at the Siege of Toulon. The city had rebelled against the revolutionary government and was occupied by British forces. The French army was stuck. Napoleon, then just 24, devised a brilliant plan. He saw that by capturing a key high ground overlooking the harbor, they could use their artillery to force the British fleet to flee. It was a risky, audacious strategy, but it worked perfectly. The British were driven out, and Toulon was retaken. Suddenly, this unknown Corsican officer was a hero. He was promoted to brigadier general. Name Napoleon Bonaparte started to be whispered in the halls of power in Paris. But his rise wasn't a straight line. The political turmoil of the revolution was dangerous. At one point, he was even briefly imprisoned, suspected of being too close to the wrong political faction. But Napoleon was a survivor. His next big moment came in Paris in 1795. A royalist mob was marching on the government. The politicians were panicking. They needed someone to save the republic. They turned to Napoleon. He didn't hesitate. He famously ordered his men to give the rebels a whiff of grape shot, firing cannons loaded with small pellets directly into the crowd. It was brutal but effective. The rebellion was crushed, and Napoleon had once again saved the government. His reward: command of the French army of Italy? This was supposed to be a backwater assignment. The army was demoralized, poorly equipped, and starving. They were facing the powerful armies of Austria and its Italian allies. No one expected much. But they didn't know Napoleon. What he did next is the stuff of military legend. Arriving in Italy, he gave a now-famous speech to his ragged troops, promising them honor, glory, and wealth in the fertile plains of Italy. He filled them with a renewed sense of purpose. Then he unleashed a whirlwind campaign that stunned all of Europe. He used speed, surprise, and an uncanny ability to be exactly where his enemy least expected him. He would march his men through the night, appearing as if from nowhere, and concentrate his forces to strike at the enemy's weakest point. At battles like Lodi, Arcole, and Revalle, he consistently defeated larger Austrian armies. He wasn't just winning battles, he was conducting a symphony of war. He could read a battlefield like a map, anticipate his opponent's moves, and inspire his men to achieve the impossible. He lived with his soldiers, ate the same rations, and was often seen directing cannon fire himself. They called him Le Petit Caporal, the little corporal, a term of endearment that showed their respect and affection. He wasn't some distant general. He was one of them. Within a year, he had conquered northern Italy, forced Austria to the negotiating table, and sent millions in treasure back to the struggling government in Paris. He was no longer just a general. He was a national hero, the most popular man in France. He even started acting like a head of state, negotiating treaties on his own and establishing new republics in Italy. But Napoleon's ambition didn't stop at Italy. He dreamt bigger. He convinced the French government to back an audacious expedition to Egypt in 1798. His plan was to threaten British trade routes to India and establish a French presence in the Middle East. This campaign, highlights another side of Napoleon, the visionary. He didn't just bring soldiers. He brought over 150 scientists, engineers, and scholars. This commission of the sciences and arts was tasked with studying and documenting every aspect of Egypt. Their work led to incredible discoveries, most famously the Rosetta Stone, which would later unlock the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Egyptian campaign was a mixed bag. He won stunning victories on land, like the Battle of the Pyramids, where he famously told his troops, soldiers, "From the height of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down on you." But his fleet was destroyed by the British Navy under Admiral Nelson at the Battle of the Nile. This cut Napoleon and his army off from France. While stranded in Egypt, Napoleon learned that the political situation back home was once again in chaos. The government was weak, and France's enemies were forming a new coalition against it. Seeing his opportunity, Napoleon made a bold and risky decision. He abandoned his army in Egypt and secretly sailed back to France, evading the British blockade. He arrived in Paris in October 1799 to a hero's welcome. People saw him as the only one who could restore order and glory to France. Along with a few key political allies, he orchestrated a coup d'état on the 18th of Brumaire. In a matter of days, the old government was swept away, and a new one, the consulate, was established. At its head, as first consul, was Napoleon Bonaparte. At just 30 years old, the boy from Corsica had become the most powerful man in France. He had risen through a combination of military genius, relentless ambition, and an incredible ability to seize the moment. This wasn't the end of his story, of course. It was just the beginning of the Napoleonic era. As first consul, and later as emperor, he would go on to reshape the laws, politics, and borders of Europe in ways that are still felt today. His rise is a testament to the power of talent and determination in a time of great upheaval. He wasn't born to rule, but he proved that genius could forge its own crown. The story of Napoleon is a powerful reminder that history is often shaped by those individuals who dare to defy expectations and write their own destiny. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey into the rise of Napoleon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating characters. Let me know in the comments what you find most impressive about Napoleon's early career. See you in the next one.